Okay, so this is a piece of walnut. You can imagine that this would be 1/4 of a frame joined in the corner with miters, and part of a base that a box would sit on top of, like a jewelry box or some kind of keepsake box. So I have this pattern, MDF. Show you how I made that. It's about 18 inches across. Got a center line, about a 21-inch radius that I've smoothed out. And so the process will be to first put this on here and mark the center line, draw this curve, rough cut it on the bandsaw so the box essentially is in here, the base is in here. So this will create an arc on the outside, and then we'll use this pattern to flush it up on the router, get it nice and smooth. Then we'll bevel it with a router bit, and then we'll cut into it and see what kind of profile that gives us. So I decided I needed a T-track on the template to hold down the part during routing. So this is just me routing the groove and using my Incra fence. Perfect first time. Okay, so like I said, I decided to put a T-track in here so I could have a hold down. Originally I was just gonna put some blocks in here, keep it simple, test out the concept, see how it works. I mean, I've made other jigs before, but I kind of had an idea in mind for something simple to use with the base of the box, and the real concept here was the design, not the jig. But anyways, okay, so I had some T-track left over and I had some hold down, so put that in there, epoxied it in, and so these stops you can put them wherever, and this one will get cut off a little bit. You can imagine if we had a box in here, I could move this over enough that the box could fit, and so this would reference off the corners, and of course this makes it repeatable as I flip the pieces around and do the other side. If it's not square, I have to move them for the other different sides. But anyway, so that's where we are, and put the hold down in place, and we'll go around the edge with the bit. On the bottom, if you can imagine, I want to cut into it this way. I want the arc to go down so that it cuts into this chamfer, and we'll see what that does in terms of compound cuts and angles, and see what that looks like. So that's next. Okay, so I got the jig here. Here's my piece. It's upside down. This is one of the reasons why you want to mark it the center on all sides so you can align it, get the center line. It's also why I put the T-track off to the side, so I keep the center line for reference. And I got a scrap piece that we use to just jack that up. So anyways, what I want to do is this is how we did it originally. Now I want it to go back this way. So I'm going to align that center, and I suppose I have the issue of keeping it square. So I guess I have to figure out some way to keep it square. I guess could go this way, although it doesn't butt up against that. So got to decide how far in I want it to go, and I do kind of want it to be dramatic. So that how far in you go is going to determine how sort of wide the feet are at the corners. If you go in less, they're going to be quite wide, and if you go in more, they'll go in there'll be less on the corners. And the other thing too is that the bevel, if you come in too far, it'll cut in above the bevel. So I kind of want to keep it, that's about half the width. I want to keep it inside the bevel, so let's see what that looks like. So we'll go in like an inch. Okay, so worked out pretty good, but I think I either should have cut this arc on a bevel at the bandsaw so that it arced back in, which is probably how I'll do it in the future, or I can go now to the router table and route a chamfer on this side so it kind of bevels back. The only issue with that is you've got to have a bearing surface, and so the bearing surface will be here and the chamfer will not get any, it'll be farther here than it will be at the edge, so I'm not sure I like that. So I'll think about it and decide what I'm going to do next. Okay, so what I decided to do was back bevel it on the bandsaw, and it worked out pretty good. I think if I was going to do that to begin with, it would have been a little easier because I could have marked on the bottom and then cut it that way. It's a little harder to mark on the beveled face up here. The hard part is figuring out how far back to mark it so that it intersects your bevel and doesn't go into the top. I think I just kind of got it perfectly there, or fairly close. But anyways, looks pretty good. So the look I was going for is that you'd have this as the corner of the box, and you sort of have this unique foot look. I'm thinking though that I may run it on the bandsaw and cut out this section here in an arc, and that would actually lift it up so these feet would be touching in the center wood. So I'm going to do that next. Okay, so I ripped it on the bandsaw. I just used my finger and a pencil to scribe an arc. So kind of interesting. I guess I was thinking about the process of could this have been done any easier, and I guess the answer is not really, because you can't, if I had cut this first, there's no way to bevel this with a bit or anything. So kind of interesting. I like how it looks. A little different than what I imagined, but I still like it, and I am getting this look of the feet sticking down, and not square, and something interesting. So I'm going to clean this up just so I can see kind of what it looks like, and sand it a little bit just to finish it, and I'll kind of keep it here. I think I'm going to use it in the future.